Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. Let's talk about the interview that Julius Malema, the leader of the economic freedom fighters, had with ENCA yesterday. This was Julius Malema's first interview with a publication for 2025, and he's trying to set the tone for the organization, trying to set the narrative of the organization. Starting with some basic things, his demeanor was calm and relaxed. He wanted to show himself as personable, as affable, easygoing, a family man, lots of anecdotes about his children, their experiences. So he was trying to go for that to diffuse this angry dictator persona that other media houses and some opponents of the EFF are trying to crystallize around himself. So that's something that is worth noting. Demeanor does matter, dress code, all of that. There's something that always comes up when Julius Malema is in public, and it's the shoes. The shoes, right? If you know that Spike Lee ad about Jordan, the Jordan's ad, it's the shoes. There's always a conversation about Julius Malema's shoes, right? He was apparently wearing some very expensive shoes. I don't know what brand it was. If you are a shoe aficando, or just like an expert in that type of stuff, let us know. What are the shoes? I have no ideas. I want to say from the get-go that I think the hyper-focus on how Julius Malema spends his money is irrational, and it's driven by malice in some instances. He does earn enough to be able to buy himself fancy things. There's nothing wrong with people owning and enjoying fancy things, be it phones, be it shoes, be it vehicles, whatever the case may be. The reason why I say that this focus is driven by malice sometimes is because it doesn't seem to be consistently applied across the board. For instance, I have never seen anyone break down how much John Steenhuisen, the leader of the Democratic Alliance, spends on his shoes, his jeans, etc. I've never seen any focus on that, right? And it seems to me that the fact that we only talk about Julius Malema's shoes, and we used to talk also about Floyd Shivambu's fashion preferences, creates an inconsistency. Why am I saying that this thing is malicious in the way that it's done? Let me elaborate. The Democratic Alliance, for instance, they say that they care about cutting costs, right? They speak about efficient government, well-managed budgets. They present themselves as frugal and, people who pay attention to every penny, every cent, every rand. Well, people who care about those things typically do not waste money either. It is as much of a contradiction for a socialist to wear designer shoes as it is for a frugal person to wear designer shoes. The ideologies are different, but the application of the ideologies is the same. Both of them do not go into the designer fashion shop. If the focus is only on one individual or group of individuals and not all individuals, then that particular focus does seem to me to be disingenuous, malicious, and actually has an ulterior motive. Now, let's go into the big conversation. And the title that I had for this particular episode is Julius Malema making a mistake? How, you might ask? Is Julius Malema making a mistake by underestimating the extent about the rhetoric about the EFF on the ground? Is he making a mistake by overestimating what people took away from the NPA and the health of the EFF last year at their event? Because there is a perception about the party in some circles, which makes me wonder if they're making a mistake by underestimating the extent of the rhetoric, overestimating what people took away from their December event. When I'm on the ground, right, whether I'm at the mall, the gym, or I'm at Bry's, wherever I may be, people typically talk to me about politics quite often because they know I enjoy talking about politics. They see that I make content sometimes about politics. They see my social media, which has a lot of political content. So when they see me, first thing they want to talk about is politics. And when we have these conversations, I typically don't try to talk all the time because I make a lot of content. People already kind of know what I think. They want to debate, give me their views, etc. And often I have been hearing a lot of people saying EFF is over, EFF is dead, EFF pelile. And sometimes it's unprovoked. I don't actually initiate those conversations. Sometimes I'm just, a fly on the wall, so to speak, and I'll hear people say these things. I don't agree with this view, and I'll explain why. I don't think that the EFF is over or dead. But I do think it's important for the EFF to take seriously this narrative and the perception. If they're intent on, shifting the narrative, if they're intent on surviving and growing and going into a position where they can position themselves maybe to become leaders in South Africa at the presidential level. So I want to look at one clip in particular and talk about that clip, and that's the Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. I think a lot has already been said about Floyd Shivambu, about Jacob Zuma, Advocate Dalimpof. So let's focus on Ndlozi because his resignation from Parliament as a member of the EFF is recent. It's the most recent development. So this JJ Tabane asked him about it, and this is what he had to say about it.
You're saying Mbuyiseni Ndlozi has resigned from Parliament. I got that when I was outside the country on holiday with my wife. When the SG sent it to me, I never had any.
But what's the on Mbuyiseni?
Yeah, so you can't ask me why did he resign, because I never had that discussion.
What was the backstory of him not being at the NPA? Just tell us, just take us into your confidence today.
But again, you're unfair to me. I'm not responsible for Mbuyiseni Ndlozi. I'm not his father. Not his father. Where he was, what was he doing?
On this one,
I don't know.
On this one, I think you're obfuscating because surely with the kind of organization you are running a tight ship. Let's be frank. You are not running a Mickey Mouse thing. This is a massive organization with 1 million members. Right? And it could be understandable if there was some just ordinary loose member who didn't pitch up for or who was not a delegate. Right? But here you're talking about somebody you have promoted. Just recently, you are pitting him against Panyaza Lusufi, making fun of Panyaza Lusufi. This is incomparable.
You can't compare even now. Even now.
Yeah.
If you
so I can't be convinced.
If you want to question me about the qualities of leadership, let's debate that. Not his whereabouts.
No, I want to debate that you are not worried about why would you not be worried?
I'm not.
Why?
Stage is a village. Usiboni stage zelo
I'm not convinced.
Ugara sa UN usiboni ka NPA se village dilo dilimo.
So you're not worried that he didn't know where he was.
The leadership of the EFF, which was supposed to be there, was there. So why must I worry?
So he wasn't told not to come to the NPA?
No, there's no such a communication.
He just voluntarily didn't come. So we need to ask him.
You ask him. I don't know.
Ask him. No idea even now.
No, I'm not even interested.
But you have a good relationship with him.
No.
You don't?
No. It ended at that time. We were members.
Was he a victim of Floyd leaving? Let me ask it that way.
Ask him if he's a victim. How do I say someone is a victim? I don't know if he's a victim. I never spoke to Mbuyiseni Ndlozi before the NPA. I never spoke to Mbuyiseni Ndlozi after the NPA. So I don't know his mind as to how is he thinking.
There's something I forgot to say before I react to this particular clip. I do actually think that it's harmful or not harmful. I do think that in general, politicians should not be flashy with clothes and vehicles. And I think this is where the harmful comes in. I do think that it does harm people who position themselves as socialists, as communists, or in that frame of being on the far left to actually, be always seen with flashy cars, clothes, watches, all of that kind of stuff. I do think that there's a harm there. I just wanted to add that. So even though I do think there's a hypocrisy to everyone just focusing on Julius's shoes, I actually think that it does harm them. Thomas Sankara typically lived a modest existence, So you need to, if you're going to be a disciple of Thomas Sankara, live modestly. right? It makes people worry about capture, about corruption. I just spend a lot of time speaking about Fikile Mbalula on a yacht and how that affected perceptions. But let's go back to the clip and talk about it. So I actually understand the issue of the friendship ending due to the betrayal or the perceived betrayal. And for Julius Malema to say, no, we're no longer friends, that has ended in reference to Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, I think it's something that I understand. And why am I calling it a betrayal and adding it to that bucket of betrayal? Because you can betray by omission or by commission. Commission is an act, an active act of saying, I'm going to stab you, whatever. Or you can betray by omission. So I think that Ndlozi should have spoken up at the time when the first wave of departures happened. You know, Floyd Shivambu, Advocate Dalimpofu, he should have used his platform, social media, TV interviews, radio interviews, media articles to actually say, I disagree with these guys. This is a mistake. If they want to form a unified umbrella, let's do it through the caucus. Let's not do it this particular way. This is going to undermine the politics of the left. I think if he had done that, he would still be an active member of the EFF at this point. Remember, Julius Malema made that quote about the silence of our friends is something that we're going to remember in moments when we are under attack, etc. At the end, we will remember the silence of our friends. I can't remember who made that original quote, but it's a famous quote that has been around quite a bit. I think that interpretation at a human level, I would get. I would be worried if I was being attacked and my best friends, my close friends, my associates, people who say they're in the trenches with me, just keep quiet. If they haven't seen it, that's one thing. But if they have seen it, I would be worried. I would be more worried if those people are my friends and we are making money or on a mission together. I would be more worried because this is our thing. They're coming after our bread and butter, the thing that feeds our families, etc., etc. You keeping quiet. That would really make me think, are you in on this attack? Are you part of it? So that I understand. I also understand why Julius kept saying, ask Ndlozi, ask him, ask him, ask him. Julius is still bigger in stature, brand recognition, and authority in the South African political framework than Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, who is respected as an intellectual, as a likable person, a culturally robust person with the songs, etc., etc. He's respected for all of those things. But in terms of gravitas, the ranking of gravitas is still Julius Mbuyiseni, if we're ranking it in a particular sense. Julius has the authority and is leader of an institution with 1.5 million members, whereas, or voters rather, 1 million members or so. And Mbuyiseni is just a member of that organization. Now, I think Julius can't be the one to speak on organizational reasons about why Ndlozi left at this point. Because if he does that, he then gives the power of rebuttal and last word to Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, and the media will eat that up. Right? If he says, these are the organizational grievances that we had with Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, ABC. Ndlozi can come tomorrow. He'll be on ENCA, Newsroom Africa, SABC. He'll be on Power FM. He'll be on Sunday Times, Mail and Guardian, all of the public. So we're 10, because there's also an appetite in mainstream media to really eradicate the EFF, which has the strongest ideological and most consistent ideological positioning on land, nationalization of mines, changing the mandate of the Reserve Bank, the position of the oligarchs in South Africa, a variety of things, right? So there are people within the media infrastructure, the owners in particular, who have an appetite to use these fractures, divisions to actually end the EFF once and for all. You know, Shaka Zulu in that, I'm going to say Shaka Zulu in a way that it was real. Henry Cele in the Shaka Zulu series, Shaka Zulu, the original series, which is not necessarily like what I'm about to quote is not necessarily what Shaka said, but he used to say, acting as Shaka, and I don't know if Shaka actually ever said this, but he used to say, acting as Shaka, never leave an enemy behind because he will rise to cut you at the throat, something to that effect. So if you are an opponent of the EFF and you happen to control the media or be a media house favorable to the Ramaphosa camp, for example, you will use this moment to destroy the EFF. It's a gift. Whether you created it or not is neither here nor there. If Ndlozi then comes and says, no, Julius is lying about 1, 2, 3, 4, then that gives the rebuttal power and platform to Ndlozi, and he can use it in a way that will destroy the EFF or set a bomb within the branches of the EFF. So he is saying, ask Ndlozi about his whereabouts. Ask him about his reasons for XYZ, because the EFF and Julius Malema want Ndlozi to be the first person to make a move, to commit a version of events, and to commit that to the public record. With Floyd, as soon as he gave a version in the SMWX interview and in the SABC interview, he then gave ammunition to the EFF online activists for a counter-argument and for an attack line. Strategically, it is a good move for Julius not to speak before Ndlozi speaks. Now let's go back to that question about the EFF dying, whether they're dying or not. I don't think that the EFF is dying. Why? The EFF is still sitting on a high registered member voter base, right? Their community is committed, and right now they feel like they're the underdog and that they are being attacked. When a group of committed individuals feels that they are being attacked, they rally, they get together, they become innovative, creative. Necessity is the mother of invention, one saying goes, and they become creative about how to bounce back. So I think as things stand right now, EFF sitting on 1.5 million votes has a large constituency. So they have a high number of registered members, a large constituency of voters who still support them. They have a large army of professionals who work in various spaces where they are representatives for the party, legislature, parliament, etc., right? Councils, you name it. So that in and of itself creates a group of people who are vested in continuing the survival of the organization. So I don't think it's dying, right? I think that from the messaging perspective, the EFF still has a clear and coherent message. And also they have a strong messenger who can deliver that message, Julius Malema. And also some of the people who are supportive cast are also strong role players in and of themselves. I think the EFF still has a depth of talent on the benches and in various spaces, even though they don't have Floyd Shivambu, Advocate Dali Mpofu, and Mbuyiseni Ndlozi now is gone mute. I don't think that they are going to struggle for message. I think they still remain a party with strong branding, and it's a recognizable brand. As a brand in and of itself, it's recognizable. The message, the mission, the brand, these are recognizable. So from business, you will know that these elements are quite important for an organization to have. And like JJ Tabane said, they are running a tight ship. For those reasons, I don't think that the EFF is dying or is anywhere close to that. I do not think, however, that they can afford to lose more votes in the next election, whatever it is, local government or national. People will be comparing how they did in 2021 local government to how they do in 2026. People will be comparing how they do in 2029 to how they did in 2024. They can't afford to lose voters when it's game time. They can't afford to lose another match. If they lose another match, that will cement the narrative that they're on a downward trajectory. And voters do not like to be part of the losing team. Nobody does. Not even just voters. Nobody does. Part of why people support a political party is because they are caught up in the wave, in the moment, in the momentum. And they have a credible view of that party's prospects having a path to victory. Once people no longer think you have a path to victory, they begin to walk away and walk off. Even if you don't have leadership squabbles, even if you are a tight ship, even if you're well organized, even if your messaging is still good, they need to see a pathway to victory. I do think that because of that, the EFF needs to take this moment seriously and not be dismissive of it because the stage was full at the NPA in December of 2024. Saying, no, the NPA looked like the United Nations, the stage was full. It's true. But that may not have the same impact on the public that you think it has on the public as a member of the party or a leader of the party. What do I think the EFF should do? I think that the EFF must actually be scientific. They must commission a poll or they must conduct robust in-house polling using established statistical methods of polling in townships, in other areas where they have large support bases or where they want to target the population for growth. And they must poll about perceptions of the EFF. And then they must come up with a communication strategy based on the feedback from those polls. The information in the media is not always accurate. The information on social media can sometimes be an echo chamber, right? The information on TikTok can sometimes be a product of youthful populism, energy, and trends. So you need to have a scientific methodology of getting information on the ground so that you can devise a fact-based strategy to deal with those particular challenges. When people thought Barack Obama was not going to win the election in 2008, his internal party polling showed that he would. And they were confident and they moved ahead and they won. But they were not surprised by that because the polling was already telling them. Even Donald Trump, he does internal party polling where they were able to ascertain that they had a path to victory with the kind of messaging, with the kind of advertising that they had done. That's why they went to those podcasts. That's why they leaned into the manosphere. They knew what they were doing because their internal polling was showing that. But the world polling, the rest of the polling was showing Kamala ahead, Biden ahead at various points, although it was towards the, most of 2024, Biden was behind. But in the prior years, they were showing Biden as being ahead, right? They were saying a generic Democrat can beat Donald Trump. And we now know, we're 5 days away from Donald Trump's inauguration, that polling was not correct. So they must do that. And then they must take remedial actions as a result of that. I also was thinking of the Black Panther Party when I was thinking about the EFF and this episode and the discussion they had with JJ. I think that the EFF must take some lessons from the Black Panther Party as a case study. The Black Panther Party, this phrase is like coming into a tongue twister now, becoming a tongue twister. The Black Panther Party, they ran extensive programs in communities, right, at their peak. And that is part of what created a loyal support base. They had feeding schemes, all manner of schemes. Even the Nation of Islam did the same thing, which is how Malcolm X was able to gain credibility and authority in the communities because of what the Nation of Islam was doing. They need to take a page from that book. The EFF must not rely only on what their elected officials are doing, particularly because they're doing that in coalitions with other entities, and those politics are complex. So whatever EFF is doing in Johannesburg, even if Julius says JMPD has improved, that may not necessarily be something that the EFF will be given credit for down the road. They need to do things on their own. They must not just rely on also these year-end events where they go and make donations to Go-Go's, etc., etc. They must find 24/7, 7-day-a-week programs that they can run and run those programs. They need to start solving some community problems. The school discussion is an example that's interesting for me. It seems that the EFF is trying to do everything by the book with the school, get approvals, etc. I think that's a mistake. I think they must go ahead and do it with or without the rezoning approvals. Let the government take down the school. Let the community ask for the school to stay open. Let them take down the school and then you say, look, we built a school, they took it down. Right? It doesn't have to be a big school. It doesn't have to be 1,000-student school. Build a 500-student school. Build a 250-student school. Change the area where you want to build a school if that particular administration or ANC municipality is giving you problems. You know, in the tech community, the CEOs in the tech companies, the FANG companies, they have a saying that they like to embrace: move fast and break things. Which is to say, these tech bros have found loopholes and disrupted in a variety of spaces. Uber, if you think about it, was a company that found a way to entrench itself in many companies by the use of legal loopholes, gray areas, etc. Even if you think about Ladgag, this guy, Mr. Muloto, who takes Nyaope people to rehab, he's controversial, but he has a large following and a growing support base, even though there's a gray area around, all of the legalities about what he's doing. I'm not saying that they should go to that extent, and do that type of a program. I am saying that they do need to be proactive and find disruptive programs that they can do on the ground with or without, the paperwork that they may need. They have a year to plan, a year to get things in their house in order. And this year, they can focus on keeping the boat steady. There's no reason to go all out in early January. But they should spend time in this quiet period vetting, training candidates for the 2026 local government elections, because they are going to be do or die for them. But even though I'm saying that they have this year to plan and this year they can go a little bit slow, keep the boat steady, by November, they should start ramping up the volume and showing the public what they can do, what they're willing to do. Why do I say that? November, or even a little bit earlier, will likely be 1 year away from local government elections. And you need to go into December with momentum so that people talk about you when you are at home, when they're at home during the holidays. Think about this. To have the song of the year in South Africa, you can't be too early to drop that song. Think about Twala Bami. You remember the song? I can't dance, guys. Don't even worry. Don't even worry. I can't dance. I have 2 left feet and 2 left hands. So dancing, my mother never taught me. God never put it in the basket of things. But you remember the song, right? Think about it. It was a bigger song in 2024. Went viral on TikTok. International. They were singing it in Germany, America, etc. Burna Boy did a remix. All of those things. More views on YouTube. More views on TikTok. Bigger song. But it was too early. This Piri Marung song, it won most of the radio show Song of the Year awards. It's a smaller song, more local impact. The reason why Piri Marung was the Song of the Year, not Twala Bami, is because when the song came out. If it comes out later in the year, if it comes out too early in the year, because people get over things fast. So that's what I think about what the EFF needs to do. I do think that Julius Malema needs to be very, very circumspect and careful right now about his understanding about the public perceptions about what the moment meant last year. Because I'm hearing a lot of things on the ground and there's a bit of a disconnect between what he's saying and what I'm hearing. And of course, leaders must always project confidence. But I do think that they need to take some scientific steps to make sure that they don't crystallize the narrative and the perception of a downward trajectory. What do you guys think? Let's have a conversation till the next one.